Hi, everyone. Okay, I'll be pretty quick because I think we're running a bit late. Talk to you a bit about the code of conduct. Does it work? Yes, it does. Perfect. So we've talked a lot about the code of conduct this morning with the Home Office. The one thing we didn't really talk about is how many people have signed it at MEF, and should you sign it, and should you download it and take a look at it. Unfortunately, I should say that not the majority of our members have signed the code of conduct. So the question I'm asking the audience today is, why haven't you signed it? And there could be legitimate reasons, but we'd love to have that feedback from you to understand, have you taken a look at the code of conduct? What are the barriers to signing it? How could we get you more involved? And I'm always an email away or a phone call away to discuss that. So here's the QR code, download it. We just added a new version to the, we just updated the version very recently to include AIT, which I think Dario mentioned earlier today. So why do we need a code of conduct? Why should we be signing it? As we all know, fraud hasn't gone away. We're seeing increased government intervention, regulatory intervention, and the industry needs to show that it's being proactive around combating fraud. One tool for doing that would be to sign a code of conduct and show that we buy into, collectively as an industry, a set of ethical rules around preventing fraud. So what is the MEF Code of Conduct? Again, we talked around the Code of Conduct a lot this morning, but we didn't get into what the principles are, what some of the details are, so I just thought I'd run through some of those today. So it's a self-regulatory framework, just another fancy way of saying it's voluntary, right? That's what a Code of Conduct is. You sign on to it. We do have the dispute mechanism. I'll get into that in a second. It's a set of standards and procedures that we all buy into. It's all around consumer protection, and there's a universal application. I think this might be one of the reasons, that bottom right-hand corner, looking at why you may or may not be able to sign onto the Code of Conduct. Our Code of Conduct is meant for all our members, and we have a broad church in terms of members. And so we get some feedback around which parts of the Code of Conduct are relevant to you as a member, and I'll get into that on the last slide. So next is what are the key principles. So there's opt-in, both explicit and explicit opt-out as well for members. So you should easily, the Code of Conduct says consumers should easily be able to opt in, and they should easily be able to opt out if they want. So these are key principles in the Code of Conduct. We should respect consumers' preferences. We should respect data privacy. And of course, it's all about fraud prevention. So those are the key principles in the Code of Conduct. What are some of the things you get from the Code of Conduct? We have the TEM badge, which is the, I'm having a blank now.
Visual badge.
Yeah, no, but I mean TEM stands for Trust in Enterprise Messaging, sorry. Yeah. The dispute resolution mechanism, which we talked a lot about this morning, and I'll just wait for the next slide to get into like next steps around that. It's a code of conduct is a way of beefing up your industry reputation, your company reputation, the industry reputation. It's around trust building, and then finally, it shows your ethical commitment to combating fraud. So these are some of the why sign the code of conduct reasons. Okay, and then the future. So the next steps. I think this is a slide where I'll spend a few more minutes. So the big one, and we were talking about it this morning with the Home Office, is beefing up the dispute mechanism. The criticism we often get around a code of conduct is it's voluntary and it lacks teeth. So how do we address those, right? And one way is to have a good dispute mechanism that works, right? And one of the ways we think we can make that dispute mechanism work better and have more teeth is by collaborating with government agencies such as the Home Office. So there's a continual piece of work around beefing up that dispute mechanism, ensuring that the code of conduct has as much teeth as it possibly can. Modular structure, so I was mentioning just earlier in this presentation that we have operators, aggregators, CPaaS providers, firewall vendors, content providers, all sorts of members at MEF, and we often hear from them that, well, I'd sign on to the code of conduct, but there's a section in the code of conduct that just doesn't apply to my business, and I can't sign on to it because I'm signing on to some requirements that are out of my control. So what we mean by a modular approach is we'd like to be able to allow members to sign on to the bits of the code of conduct that are relevant to them and not have to sign on to the bits that are not relevant to them. And we think this is important because, as I said, the majority of you have not signed the code of conduct, but we know that the majority of you believe that we need to do something about combating fraud, and we know that this is one of the tools in the tool bag. So we need to address this situation of how do we get more people signing on to the code of conduct. And I mentioned it in my comment to the Home Office earlier today. I do get members coming to us saying, you know, one way to get people to sign the code of conduct is we should all, as an industry, just do business with companies that have signed the code of conduct. And we won't, you know, otherwise we won't do business with you. And this is a good way of getting people to buy into a code of conduct and to try to respect those rules. It's all about industry collaboration. I've talked about the dispute mechanism. It's a living document in the sense that we want to refresh it and keep it relevant. Fraud evolves, and we need to make sure that we capture that. Dario mentioned this morning around AIT. We refreshed, so the latest version that we published a month or so ago has a refreshed AIT section. So we've really built that out. It has some strong commitments for our members around how to combat AIT. So this is an example of how we'll continue to evolve and grow the code of conduct, and to continue to be able to fight emerging threat focuses. Sorry about that. And I think this is more or less, I've gone through this pretty quickly, it's more or less the overview of the code of conduct. Here again is the QR code. Please take a look at the code of conduct. Let us know if you're interested in signing it. And like I said, reach out to us if you have any questions on it. And that's it, nice and quick. Thank you.